Welcome to my channel, Hidden Points. Imagine someone who wakes up every morning and their first thought isn't about what they'll enjoy or achieve, but what could go wrong. This thought follows them all day, like a relentless shadow, shaping every decision, every habit, every interaction. This is the psychology of a person who is always preparing for disaster. This isn't about paranoia or irrational fear. It's not about being weak or overreacting. It's not even just anxiety, although that's part of it. It's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism, a way the brain has learned to keep them safe at all costs. This mechanism often starts in childhood. Experiences of unpredictability, instability, or prolonged stress teach the brain that danger is constant and preparation is essential. Over time, this pattern becomes automatic, almost invisible. The person develops an acute awareness of risk, detail, consequences, and probabilities. This awareness feels necessary because their mind has been trained to predict and prevent harm. They often imagine worst-case scenarios in vivid detail, mentally rehearsing them to feel ready. This isn't a game, it's a coping strategy, a survival instinct. And the more unpredictable the world feels, the stronger this pattern becomes. It affects their relationships, as they tend to overplan, control, and anticipate every possibility. Friends and family might see them as cautious or even obsessive, but they're really just trying to protect themselves and others from potential harm. This behavior shows up in many ways. They prepare for emotional disaster by anticipating conflicts and rehearsing responses. They prepare for financial disaster by saving meticulously and planning for every contingency. They prepare for physical disaster by stocking supplies and learning new skills. They even prepare for social disaster by analyzing conversations and predicting outcomes. Every decision is influenced by this lens. Even small, everyday choices carry the weight of a full risk assessment. Because of this constant vigilance, they are often extremely competent, organized, and reliable. Others depend on them because they foresee problems before anyone else. Yet, the internal cost is significant. Their mind rarely rests. The constant anticipation of danger creates mental fatigue and emotional tension. They might experience physical symptoms like tension, headaches, insomnia, or digestive issues. Despite these costs, they rarely allow themselves to relax completely. Relaxation feels unsafe. It can trigger guilt, anxiety, or a feeling of vulnerability. This internal state explains why they might struggle with spontaneity or pleasure, because every action is filtered through the lens of what could go wrong. Their perfectionism isn't vanity. It's a form of protection. They believe that mistakes or oversights could have catastrophic consequences. They are also highly sensitive to subtle environmental cues, like changes in tone or body language. This sensitivity helps them anticipate problems, but it also reinforces their vigilance. When they encounter uncertainty, their nervous system activates with heightened alertness. Adrenaline surges, and their mind floods with potential scenarios and responses. They rehearse endlessly until they feel even marginally safe. This preparation extends to their relationships. They analyze social dynamics, anticipate conflicts, and try to prevent emotional harm in advance. They might withdraw or avoid situations when the perceived risk feels too high. Their empathy amplifies this pattern because they worry not only about their own safety, but also about the safety and well-being of others. The fear of failure or harm is internalized as a deep sense of responsibility. They rarely delegate or trust easily, because trusting others introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is interpreted as risk. The psychology behind this is rooted in evolution. The brain treats hypothetical disasters as real threats and constantly simulates responses to prepare for them. Over time, these simulations become automatic and habitual. The person experiences them as an urgent reality, even when the likelihood of the event is low. This hypervigilance explains why they often feel emotionally and physically exhausted, and why they may appear controlling or perfectionistic to outsiders. It also explains their remarkable foresight and competence. Years of mental rehearsal create an unmatched level of preparedness. The paradox is that the very trait that makes them so reliable and protective also isolates them. Their constant vigilance can make them seem anxious or difficult to others. Their inner world is rich with scenarios, contingency plans, strategies, and mental checklists. Yet, they rarely share this world because exposure feels dangerous. Revealing their thought patterns risks judgment, misunderstanding, or pressure to just relax. They have learned that their safety depends on control, and foresight. Their avoidance of vulnerability is a survival tactic, not defiance. If you examine their childhood, you often find experiences of instability, trauma, neglect, or high expectations that taught the brain that preparation is life-saving. These early lessons are carried into adulthood as a core part of their identity. This identity is reinforced by success. When their preparation prevents a problem or mitigates harm, the brain registers the behavior as correct and necessary. Each successful prevention strengthens the pattern until it becomes self-sustaining and automatic. The person may recognize the cost of their constant vigilance, yet feel unable to stop. The nervous system interprets relaxation or trust as potential danger. The fear response is ingrained so deeply that logical reasoning has limited influence. This pattern is further reinforced by society, which often rewards preparedness, foresight, and competence. In some environments, hypervigilance is even admired. Yet internally, the person struggles with tension, guilt, and fatigue because there is never a moment when their mind is fully at ease. This psychology also intersects with control and perfectionism. The person believes that control over their circumstances reduces the risk of disaster, and perfectionism ensures that no mistakes amplify danger. When mistakes happen or unexpected events occur, they experience intense anxiety because their coping system has been challenged. The nervous system activates as if catastrophe is imminent. This reaction is automatic and subconscious, not a conscious choice. Relationships may suffer because their constant preparation can be overwhelming for others. Their partners, friends, or coworkers may not understand that this behavior is protective, not controlling, and the person may misinterpret others' lack of preparation as carelessness, feeling compelled to intervene, which can create tension and distance. Yet despite these internal struggles, this person is often deeply empathetic, responsible, and reliable. They've developed emotional foresight alongside practical preparation. Their mind has learned to simulate every possible outcome and create strategies for each one. This skill can be invaluable in a crisis, but exhausting in normal life. The psychology of this pattern shows how early experiences shape adult behavior, how survival instincts can become an identity, and how the nervous system can interpret hypothetical threats as real dangers, shaping thoughts and emotions for decades. If this sounds like you or someone you know, remember that change is possible. Healing this pattern involves awareness and gradually retraining the nervous system. It involves reframing risk and learning that not all uncertainty is dangerous, that vulnerability doesn't equal disaster, and that rest is not a weakness. With safe support and conscious practice, a person can retain their foresight and competence while reducing anxiety and fatigue. They can learn to experience spontaneity, relaxation, and connection. Ultimately, the psychology of the person who is always preparing for disaster isn't about being broken. It's about a mind trained to anticipate, protect, and survive. Understanding this allows for a transformation from hypervigilance to balanced preparedness and calm confidence. It allows an individual to honor their instinct to protect while also experiencing life fully with trust, joy, and peace. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.